Welcome to Redefining Engagement. I'm Francesca Dumas, Director of Audience Development and Strategy at Contribly. And in this show, I speak to leaders and innovators in the media industry so that we can bring tips, wisdom, ideas, and even some things to avoid so that we can all do more engagement better. So without further ado, let's move on to our next guest. Hi, Olaf. How are you?
Hi, Francesca. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. It's been one of those weeks, but we're good. We're good. First of all, very excited to be chatting about engagement with you. We met at a conference. You had so many fantastic examples when we spoke. So I'm really looking forward to this chat. How about we start off with an introduction? Tell me a bit about yourself. What do you do? What's your experience? Let's go from there.
I'm head of engagement and growth at DIE ZEIT in Germany. And that sounds pretty fancy, I know, but it is fancy, but it means in practice, we are like an in-house consultant agency, helping everyone in the newsroom and in the product management to grow traffic and guide the users through our products.
And how did you get to this job? How did you end up being this internal consultant in a sense or doing this?
It's always moving. It's like I started out 12 years back as the first dedicated SEO for DIE ZEIT.
Mm-hmm.
And my job was the second job in what was called audience development and data analytics. And so my colleague always was looking for how to get sustainable reach, not only peak traffic, but how to get a sustainable audience. And that influenced the whole department and me. And he would say what he did back then now is the job of 20 people in 4 or 6 different departments at DIE ZEIT. It grew quite a lot, and it really fits the house.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about DIE ZEIT. So how long have you been working there? How are your teams set up? I always find it really interesting how everyone works together because everyone does it so differently. And I don't think there is a perfect way of doing it yet.
Yeah, it starts with audience development. I haven't been in publishing before.
Mm-hmm.
And if you aren't in publishing, you don't know. It's a very specific department and thing to do. The most audience developers I get to know are part of the newsroom, and at DIE ZEIT, it started on the publisher side. So we are part of the company. We are sitting next to the product management and the engineering and all those great guys. And we have a very huge newsroom, but it was like you have this divide between both sides because the one side is more concerned with the editorial relevance and the other side is more concerned with the business. And so I started out on the business side. And I guess one very huge mission we had was to get nearer to each other and to learn what's important for the other side and how can we combine it, because at the end we have the products together and the brand is something that we build together. And so it's not about theirs and ours, but working together on that. I would say I'm still part of the publisher side. We are working together with the newsroom, but we are not part of the newsroom. There are audience experts as well, working for the editors-in-chief and so on. But we have a very good collaboration.
It's I feel like it's one of the topics that comes up in a lot of the conferences is the silos that we have built by going digital. Obviously, we've been doing it for years and years, but we have created these silos. So having everybody in the same room sounds like a really powerful way of breaking those barriers down. Is that how you see it? Is it because you're all in the same room that helps bridge those gaps, or are there other things that happen?
Yes, totally. Silos just make you slower.
Yeah.
It's not that the newsroom doesn't have to be the product management. The product management doesn't have to be the newsroom. It's okay if those are two different things, but they have to understand each other and they have to find common language for things like engagement and see, okay, what are we looking at? And a lot of the things we do at DIE ZEIT is teaching each other about how we approach things, how we see things, and how we work on that. And we are very discussion friendly.
I love the fact that you mention common language, because I think that's one thing that I really believe we need to be better at. And obviously we're here today to talk about engagement. So what is the common language? Like, what is your definition of engagement? What are you working with when you talk about engagement?
Engagement is a very broad term, as you know. So it always depends to whom you are talking and about what kind of approach, a feature. In a broader sense, my definition is meaningful interaction and kind of the bonding to the user. But it's always different how you can measure it and how you combine it with different approaches. When I started out, it was more like looking at page impressions per visit and how to drive more of that, and session duration and stuff like that. And over the years, we have all those great concepts. I'm a admirer of all the recency frequency engagement stuff. I guess you can work with that very well to understand behavioral engagement. But I learned a lot from my colleagues about emotional engagement, like what our editors do in the podcast section, for example. It creates a bond you can't always measure perfectly, but it is there and it drives engagement.
Yeah, I guess the definition, I love that: meaningful engagement, meaningful interactions. And then the measuring is a completely different world, because it's such a broad term. And yeah, I'm a big pusher of the emotional piece, which is the hardest bit to measure. But it's interesting to see how we have developed this approach to engagement over time. I feel like in every one of these interviews, people talk about how much their view or their mission in terms of engagement has changed. What are the biggest changes that have happened from how you saw engagement before to how you're currently starting to see engagement now?
If I think about my view on engagement, I would say it's more the difference between on-site and off-site engagement. Like on the one hand, you have this kind of off-site engagement where we did a lot, I would say 10 years back, when we not only DIE ZEIT, but I would say a lot of other brands even further located their engagement on social media platforms, and to learn that this is only a bridge and it can't be the destination, to see how value it is to have those engagement on your own platform. I'm very happy we never switched off our comment section or gave it over to Mark Zuckerberg, but we kept it ourselves. It's a very good decision, I think. On the other hand, the positive thing about offsite engagement, I learn a lot at the moment with all our events. We have a very strong event, let's say event business, and we do podcast live tours or meetings where our subscribers can meet the editors and talk about different topics. And it's so important. And it's something our editor-in-chief, Jochen Wegner, recently described us as, I guess he went like, we are not just news providers, we are hosts for communities. And this spirit you learn a lot from at DIE ZEIT.
I love that. It's so authentic. And I think that's one of the things that keep coming up regularly, is especially for young people, looking for authenticity is part of what builds their affiliation to a brand. And at the end of the day, we are news, but we are news brands, and that authenticity of being able to actually connect with real people is so important. How what are the aims of your engagement? So you've mentioned events, you've mentioned obviously emotional attachment, SEO. There's a lot that you're doing, and there might be more that I've missed. What are the aims? What's the main aim of this engagement strategy that you're building?
I would say it's the relevance, to be relevant to users nowadays, and I would say to young audiences especially. It's not like for many years you can just send out stuff. Like people come to us for editorial views and what the editors say it's relevant. That I would say that was the norm. But audiences are now accustomed to a more personalized experience and a more, what does it mean for me? And I say that's something we want to underline, that it's not, we are interested in the dialogue and not just in sending out what we think.
Relevance, probably the hardest thing to measure. We talk about emotion. I think that's
potentially even easier. How are you measuring this relevance? How are you measuring if your engagement is creating relevance?
I would love to say, oh, we do it like this or that, but I have to say it's an ongoing thing where you try out different things. On the one hand, where you have the behavioral engagement, where you can use different RFE concepts, like how is someone behaving on the site, what habits does this person have, and how to increase that. On the other hand, you have those events where you just have to see how many people are coming, how do they interact live with the hosts or to each other. And on the other hand, it's all the broader section of brand awareness. How are we spoken about? How's the sentiment towards our brand? Where are we mentioned? How do people interact offsite with us? And I guess that's a very, very broad combination of things. I would say we are always try out how to get that to get that in one concept, but we know it's combining different concepts and ideas and approaches.
And obviously, I want to ask you about the challenges, but first, I think when we're talking about measurement and all of these different approaches, do you have a central team or a central person that is looking at all of these things at the same time, or is it very much this is what we do, everybody knows this? How do you focus on engagement in that way as a team?
It's more like different teams are doing that, but we come together to talk about it. Like we have this analytics community, which consists of different experts from different departments. Like my team is part of it, but also the data team on the publisher side, and the newsroom has its own SEO, data, and subscription department, which is also part of this community. And we are talking to each other a lot. Everyone has their own goals and ideas, and we try to get a common sense of it and see where can we add to what the other one thinks and does. And of course, there are a lot of things we are thinking about in every department. And then we have to talk about it to understand that we are thinking about the same thing and where it differs.
Sometimes you almost have to go back to basics to make sure that everybody is actually talking about the same thing, because it's so easy to miss, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest challenges in your experience? What's stopping news brands from engaging better?
I would say it's the sheer amount of things you can do and the limited resources you have. And it's always related to data, because you don't only have to analyze the data, you have to get the data. And then you have to understand it and interpret it. That's such a long process, which I get a lot of people don't think about. For example, not only in publishing, but also in other big companies, you always have this mindset, okay, there's a feature, now tell me how it works.
Yeah.
But to ask not only how it works, but to ask that better and to care for how someone could answer it, that's a pretty huge thing. And you have to make this a bigger and more essential part of your company.
So time, money, resources kind of linked together.
Yeah.
Data. Yeah, it makes it's sound very, very difficult. And in your team, what strategies have proven effective when you're engaging your audiences? Like what has worked best? Tell me some real examples of what this looks like. Obviously, we mentioned the events, but which ones have been the most successful?
On the event side, I would say we had this very huge Zeitverbrechen stadium tour. Zeitverbrechen is a magazine, true crime. And it's very, very popular. First, there was the magazine, then it started out as one of our flagship podcasts. And now there's this huge community of it. Yeah, it was not like those recently. They weren't not like small local events. It was like stadium tours.
Wow.
Stadium tours. So that there you see a lot of connection between fans and our editors and our brand. And that's just one example. All the combination of podcast and events is very successful, and it became more measurable, I would say, how big and relevant that is when we launched our podcast subscription last year. And now it's driving also a lot of revenue and really subscribers who are just subscribing for additional podcast content from us.
Wow, I love that. Crime always works for some reason, but I find sometimes it sounds like you've made a success story out of crime, because we know that crime drives clicks and sometimes, but it also, I think, drives a lot of churn from what I hear from the other brands, because sometimes you get rid of the first thing that makes you feel bad every day, and it's also a bit of the reason why people avoid. But it sounds like you've taken something and you've made it a community around it, so that it's not necessarily just seen as this negative thing that's everywhere, but something that's more interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
not like, I know what drives a lot of attention is when people do, like in Germany, we would say red alert, blue alert journalism, like
Mm.
crime reports. That's not what we do. That's not how we do that stuff. It's more our brand is known for going very deep into the topic, and so Zeitverbrechen, it's not this voyeuristic approach to crime. It's very exciting, but also very analytical.
Yeah.
And it also shows the people involved and makes them graspable.
And apart from events, so obviously events, fantastic. How else are you connecting and building engagement with your audience? What kind of things do you do? You've got comments, you mentioned that as well. Is there anything else?
Yeah, we have the comment section is one very important thing because it's always an ongoing debate. And some years back, we enhanced this with emojis where you can react with.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in the most common sections are consisting of a smaller portion of people who are writing comments, and a bigger percentage of those people who are reading and interacting with those comments. And so this emojis made it easier to interact. And we saw that drove the interaction with the comment section a lot.
Well,
So
I guess it's
if
much
you don't
lower
want
barrier to
to
entry.
write, yeah, you can express yourself more than just say, okay, that's a good comment. Now you can say it with, like you're used to from WhatsApp and stuff like that, with a set of emojis which say, okay, I like it, I laughed here, that confuses me, that makes me angry, stuff like that. And it also helped a lot of people to engage with the comment section more. On the other hand, we have reader call out formats, like one thing I myself liked a lot is our newsroom was inviting users to send problems they see, and inviting also users to send solutions. And then talking about that and see, okay, what can we do to look forward to make, for example, to make Germany a better place to live in. And that resonated with a lot of people. And the last thing I have to think of, which I like a lot, is I feel we more and more do articles where you can put yourself in it. Like, we had a very successful analysis about political orientation, and a tool where you can evaluate your own political orientation. Are you more on the left side or are you more on the right side? And the tool fascinated a lot of people. Not everyone was happy about it, of course, we know, but that also drove meaningful interactions because they were discussing about it in our own comment section and on social media. And it keeps on driving people to our site to do this test, to read about it, and to orientate themselves. And I guess that creates a lot of relevance, where you can not just have the content you can read, but also you can put yourself in the center of it. And then again, think, okay, that's me, and who are the others? And why are they like they are?
I love that so much. I really believe, and it's a belief, that that for news brands to move forward, for us to be able to become sustainable, we need to be offering experiences that are very different to what we get on social media, because we need to create these safe spaces where people feel and interact with what we do. And what it sounds like, you've created something that is, first of all, evergreen. And that's very important. People can come back, they can engage again, they can share it, but also something that puts the people at the heart of it, because that's very, very special. Everybody can comment on social, but not everybody can necessarily use these types of tools and put themselves in context. Do you also analyze this kind of interaction to help your newsrooms change maybe the content that they're creating? Like, how do you use the information that you get from these types of tools where your readers are interacting?
I would say different departments look at different steps of it. So the idea to do something like that came from our newsroom, and our editors were the ones who wanted to do this. And of course, then the analysts in the newsroom see how it works and talk to the editors who build it about it. And my team, for example, was looking into the evergreen part of it, which from where are the people coming who interact there, and how is it changing over time? Do we have a way to drive demand for that and to make it longer visible for people? And so from there on, I would say a lot of other people will look at it too and look for different similar articles. And not only at the end, but in between, all those information gets back to the people in the newsroom, and they look what can they learn from it? How can they incorporate those learnings into the next article?
It's like the next level of personalization. And what kind of results did you get from that?
How do you mean?
As in, did it help? You said obviously your aim of relevance, clearly that must have reached that. But in terms of results, did you see an increase in subscriptions from in this interaction? Is it a massive reach driver? What kind of results did you get from these kind of, obviously this specific example?
Yeah, it drove a lot of subscriptions, and it also created reach, but a different kind of reach. Most of the time when you look through SEO as the biggest traffic driver measurable from external platforms, you look at, okay, people are searching for that topic and how to be seen for that. In this case, it was more like something people weren't searching for. So it was interesting to see after it was on our homepage and then on the social media platforms, how it drove branded searches. And that's something that's just from an SEO perspective, it's something very, very important that we have to do more and see more how that works. And we did it in the past, but we weren't looking at it that much. In the pandemic, we had a dashboard on our homepage, the Corona dashboard, where you get all the data from overall and from your city and stuff like that. And it was very, very successful because the users trusted us and wanted to know about this. But we always had this, I guess it's very common, this thought of, okay, branded searches, they are there. They are coming because it's not something we engage, we do. We do all this branded searches. And in this case, it was more and more interesting to see, okay, when search engines start to get more and more AI features, which keep people in their space. What they can't keep are people who are looking exactly for something we offer, and how to make that kind of content where people say, okay, I don't just want to know an answer to something, but I want to do that, what DIE ZEIT offers.
It's, I guess that's a challenge because you have a fantastic initiative. I think some people get annoyed when we talk about COVID examples, but I actually think some of the best work that we have done was during COVID, because all of a sudden normally the journalists are meant to go out and engage. And all of a sudden we weren't allowed to. So we needed to use the digital products that we had to engage in the best ways possible. And it's almost as if sometimes I think COVID stopped and we didn't continue this amazing work that we had done. And we still do it in a little bit, and I generalize the we still do it a little bit like, oh, here is one fantastic campaign, or here is one special thing that we did. As a team, are you doing these kind of engagement pieces? And are you seeing how that could then be translated into other ways of working? Like, how do you make it a habit to do stuff like this? Because it must take a lot of resource to do in the first place. Is that something that you have conversations about? What does that look like?
I have to say I have to give the credit to the newsroom in that regard. We have a very great department for data and visualization, and they are doing this amazing work, which gets a lot of attention. And when we work together, we are looking what worked well, what can we achieve. And so one thing we did was just enhancing what was there. Like we see, okay, that worked with the COVID dashboard. Can we do even more reachable approach for the next election? Like not only it's a very SEO example, but not only have one destination that gains visibility, but have a destination for every election circle, like where how did the people vote near my neighborhood? And to make that more visible and more reachable, it was something like, okay, you do this amazing stuff. Can we enhance this part of it?
You must be in such a challenging position. Obviously, the SEO space, everything to do with search is being flipped upside down, left, right, and center. How do you see it moving forward? What do you think is going to help drive the biggest changes? Things like I read this morning that I think yesterday Google announced a new algorithm change linking to we're going to promote more local content. We're going to be promoting. So this kind of thing is happening to you every day. How do you see it moving forward? How do you see this engagement happening when all of these changes are happening?
I think all the changes I see are benefiting the kind of product we do. Because, of course, Google, as a friend of mine said, the main thing about Google is it's this very effective and huge spam filter.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do at DIE ZEIT is not about getting peak traffic or do clickbaity headlines or things like that. It's more like it sounds funny to say it that way, but when DIE ZEIT was founded, way before we all were in the internet, it was like, we are building this, and many, many decades later, the internet started, and it was like, oh, this product is right here where it belongs. And if you don't want spammy stuff, but if you want something meaningful, something that cares about the bonding part, and it's DIE ZEIT.
So your values were already there.
Yes. And newsrooms are more caring for, okay, people are searching for that. So we have to write content about it. And our approach always was, no, our editors say what we are writing about it. We can consult them what is searched for at the moment, but they say what is a topic that fits and what is meaningful. And so the moment you have this shift from Google Search to Google Discover for a lot of publishers, and Discover works very, very well for our journalism because it's something people aren't always actively searching for, but they like it a lot when it finds them.
Okay. That's a very different response to what I was expecting, because it's very optimistic, Olaf. And I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we have to be. We can't give up now.
Of course, I see all those fuss about Google Zero, and it concerns us too, like AI feature, take away clicks from evergreen content and stuff like that. It doesn't affect us that much as it does with other houses, but we also see it in some spaces. So I would say where we have a very good foundation for is to build, to increase this bonding to our users and to see how we can get more into this engagement strategy, to interact more with the user, to be like the partner in life, where you share your life, where we are relevant, and not just news brokers who say who give you headlines.
I love that. The partner in life. Strong. I love it. Well, you're mentioning tech quite a bit, so maybe we should talk a little bit about tech. What role do you see the tech, like AI, obviously all of the data analytics that you're doing in your engagement efforts? How is that planning out? How are you approaching it all?
I would say we, of course, with resources, we have a pretty good data team, and it grew over the years. As I mentioned, in 2013, when I started, we were 2 people, and we did SEO and data analytics, and we worked with an agency to get more out of it. But now we have a very huge data team consisting of analysts, analytical engineers, data engineers. We have data science in the newsroom as well. And we are increasing on that part. And also AI is a very huge part of it, of course, to help us to get more data more useful,
Mm.
to refine how we approach topics, for example, and to get smarter clusters and how to work with that. So I guess we are approaching it by taking it seriously, and we don't hand over the keys to the AI or something like that, but try to get the experts and have experts to get them to use it as it's a very, very helpful tool.
And how has the rest of your team opened up to all of the changes that are probably being made? Is everybody open and excited about it, or has it been a challenge in any way?
I wouldn't say it has been a challenge that the team has like problems to adjust to it. But of course, we are, as I mentioned, discussion friendly. So you don't do the stuff at hours without talking about the sense of it, how useful it is. And what was very, very helpful in my team especially was all this interest into those AI platforms like ChatGPT or Perplexity and stuff like that. And of course, it was this inner bubble hype. And there I have a lot of colleagues who are very like, well, no, your hype doesn't get me. Let's look about it and see what's the real thing here. And that helped a lot.
So you had the different personalities coming together. You've got the excited people like me, and then you've got the ones who are calm and collected and that are very much looking at it from, okay, what is it actually doing for us? How are you integrating like the feedback of all this work that you're doing from the tech point of view, and especially how is it impacting your engagement using this different technology?
I would say it helps us to get more ideas, like try out different approaches, because we now know we have a better idea on how to measure it and where it can lead us. So with better technology, you gain more possibilities. And if you are fast enough, you get more test cases. And again, better data. That's something which benefits us all, I would say.
I think we talk a lot about the positive things that we've done because it's great and we learn from that. But I also think we learn from the things that surprise us, the pitfalls or the things that we thought would go perfectly well and then didn't end up going exactly the way we wanted it to. Do you have any examples of, initiatives that probably didn't go the way you wanted, or your audience engaging in a way that surprised you?
Oh, well, for me, the surprise was the podcast topic, the bonding in that regard. I'm not a very audio person.
Mhm.
So I like to read things and to see how huge the reaction and the positive reaction to that space is puzzles me. And I start to get it. Like a colleague of mine said, okay, now people are recognizing authors from us because they are podcast hosts. And they recognize the voice when they meet them somewhere. And it has this different vibe. I still think, whoa, that's, I wouldn't have thought of that some years back.
Sure. Sorry, go on.
Things
Please.
we did and that didn't work as well was, I would say, I'm here for a long time, of course, but around about 10 years ago, there was this thought of, okay, social media is the thing, and we have to get our products into social media. And Meta and Google, they were all like, okay, we are building this walled gardens, or kind of, in Google's case, it wasn't a walled garden, but we started to make our content more digestible for Google with AMP. And for Facebook, it was instant articles. And I'm very happy that Apple News never started in Germany, because I know they have this the same thing where you put your articles in there and hand it over to another one's product. And I'm happy that it didn't work out that well, that we get this understanding of what is our own platform. And we have to be more resilient to algorithm changes, like Meta saying, okay, news content is now more or less relevant. It doesn't have to change how our product works that much.
That's such a good point. And I think we're not the only industry that is potentially making those mistakes as well. I think a lot of of other industries could start learning from the big changes that we made, and luckily some of us didn't make it as much as others, but the big changes we made for the big platforms, I think there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Just going back to what you said about the voice, because I agree so much. I'm a rugby fan. And I can't tell you, yesterday there was a voice, and I didn't know whose it was, but it was a Frenchman with a very great English accent. And for some reason, once he came on camera at the end of the match, at the end of reporting everything, I was almost extra attached to them, because it was like I heard the voice and then all of a sudden I saw the face and they didn't necessarily match how I expected. And it does create that emotional moment where it's like, oh, I feel like I know you because I almost heard you and you were part of this journey with me. And it's a very special thing. Voices are a very emotional pieces of what we do.
Yeah,
I get it.
it creates those feeling of being nearer to someone.
Absolutely. It's so authentic. So authentic. Well, we've been doing a lot. Maybe let's go one step into let's talk about the future a tiny bit. So we've talked about some of the great things that have happened. Where do you see the future of audience engagement heading in the next, I would say 5 to 10, but I'm going to probably stick to 3 years? Where do you see us moving forward?
I guess it will take more and more center stage, because now when over the years we've seen other platforms driving less traffic to our own products. When you look at your traffic and the interaction with your own platform, you don't only have this ad impression approach, but in our case, we are a subscription first company. So it's of course you can drive subscriptions via a different platform, but it's always better to have the contact yourselves on your own turf, and to increase that and to see how can we engage more with the people who are not just coming to an article from Google or WhatsApp or stuff like that, but what about those people who are coming directly to our homepage, and how to cater to them more and increase more. I guess that's where the engagement will get bigger attention over the next years.
So almost removing churn, is that kind of like the people that do come directly, making sure that they get the best experience possible, but that because they're already coming directly to us, or directly
I
because
guess
of
it's not
SEO?
Of course, churn will be something we all have to think about more, because if you get bigger and bigger, churn becomes an increasing thing you have to face. But I guess when you cater to the people who are there and to the subscribers you have, you will speak to lookalikes more, and you will have this, like in the product-led growth mindset, you will have customers who are like ambassadors for your product. And when the reader is happy with you, he will more eagerly drive other readers to your product, because he says, that's good, that's what you have to read, and your relevance will increase. And then, of course, as long as it works, you still need social media and you need SEO, because you have to have touch points outside of your own turf. But I guess the priorities shift. And we all come from a world where we said, okay, we see our products, people are interacting with it, and we have a huge lever in increasing the reach. And now we have this, we have the time where we have to look at the reach and see how can we make it more sustainable, and how can we convert someone who's reading articles because he's coming from Google. How can we convert this person to become a direct homepage visitor?
It's a big challenge. It's exciting though. It's exciting.
Yeah, I like it very much. It's like, it feels like grown up.
It feels like what, sorry?
It feels like we grew up.
Yes, it does. It does. I'm still a teenager, but yes, it does feel like we're growing up.
I'm an old man, but it feels like, as I said, it feels like something we always wanted to be there. And now is the chance to shift towards that even more. And it fits our company. Of course, it has those moments where you aren't sure, does it help? And it's always the hard part to have this long-term approach, because it's not like, hey, I can make you 500,000 views on this article with better SEO, of course. But to look at it more like, okay, the people who are doing these views, how do I get them the next time around? How do I get them to come back and to approach that more seriously? I guess it's very important and also very fulfilling.
It's almost, I guess the question is, how do I get them to care? Yeah.
How to be relevant in their lives.
Last question for you, Olaf. Do you have an engagement hack that you could offer to someone who is starting out on their engagement journey or is thinking it through? Is there something that you really think everybody should be thinking about?
I think the most helpful learning for me was not to go at something and think, I know everything, but to get this understanding, what is my product? What is my brand? What are we standing for? And from there on, see how can it resonate with others and how can it be relevant. But to have this foundation in who you are, and that as a brand is very, very important, because that's what is the difference between all the others who put their content out there. It's not like we are not the culmination of many, many news brands. We are this one brand, and we are different than the others. And that's why we are, for many readers, something special and something which they want to share their lives.
I'm hearing a theme of authenticity throughout everything that you've said, that really around quality and values and taking things that you do really well and what you stand for and putting that into formats that engage and interact and that become relevant. And I really love that thread that I'm hearing from you today. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time, because I really enjoyed that.
Thank you too.